Vanachari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopijana Varava Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtotter Shtata Srimad. His Divine Loving Grace, Abhay Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtotter Shtata Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Chaitra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Hari Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Nita Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri, Guru, Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, everybody. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 37. Everybody please offer your sincere prayers to for Lalila Smriti Mataji.
You are not the mother.
No, I'm not. I am far more fallen, far lower. Yeah, she's just tired. Swarga Parvaga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Share Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave Swarga Pavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Share Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave Swarga Pavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Share Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave Swarga Pavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Sare Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave Swarga Parvaga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Sare Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave Swarga Pavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Share Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave. Translation. Oh, word for word, sorry. Swarga, the heavenly planets. Apavarga, the path of liberation. Dwaraya, unto the door of. Nityam, eternally. Suchi Sare, unto the most purified. Namaha, my obeisances unto you. Namaha, my obeisances. Hiranya, gold. Viryaya, semen. Chaturhotraya, the Vedic sacrifices of the name. Tantave, unto one who expands. Translation. My Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the heart. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus in the form of fire you help the Vedic sacrifices, beginning with the Chaturhotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Please repeat. Actually, since I was giving class at last minute, I didn't know I was going to get a semen verse. My Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus, in the form of fire, you help the Vedic sacrifices, beginning with Chaturhotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Purport. Right. Nice. Good job. Good listening. The word Swarga indicates a position in the higher or heavenly planetary systems. And the word Apavarga means liberation. Those who are attached to the karma kandya activities described in the Vedas are actually entangled in the three modes of material nature. The Bhagavad Gita therefore says that one should be above the dominion of fruitive activities. There are different kinds of liberation or mukti. The best mukti is engagement in the devotion, service of the Supreme Lord. Not only does Lord Aniruddha help fruitive actors by elevating them to higher planetary systems, but he also helps the devotee engage in devotional service by dint of his inexhaustible energy. Just as heat is the source of material energy, the inspiration of Lord Aniruddha is the energy by which one can engage in executing devotional service. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Guru Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Shagajatam Sagana Raganatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jigapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vishwabhanu Shuti Devi Pranamami Adi Priya Vancha Kalpatarabhista Kripa Sindhibhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namaste Girirajaya Shri Govardhana Namanena Shesha Klesha Nashaya Paramananda Dayane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namaste Jivanandaya Dasaya Vanachanine Prabhupada Vallabhaya Singha Sila Vinodine Agyana Dvanta Gamanam Pashtu Chapatitatmanam Gyana Guruteya Chita Harine Chakshashe Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Pashtachadi Shatadani. Right. So here we're hearing a little bit about, in this section, about Aniruddha, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Vasudeva, which is a very misunderstood subject matter. Many devotees just kind of glaze over it, the Chatravyuha. Chatravyuha is explained very nicely in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so I think it's worth clarifying how this Chatravyuha works, and then we can go into the kind of more details of the verse. So the original personality of Godhead is Krishna. Ete chamsha kalu pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Indriyayi vakilam lokam mridayanti yuge yuge. Out of all the mentioned personalities and forms of the Lord, Ete chamsha kalu pumsam, all are either portions or plenary portions of Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, of Krishna, who is the original personality of Godhead. Indriyayi vakilam lokam. He appears in this world to protect Indra and to defeat the enemies of Indra. Mridayanti yuge yuge, time and time again. That verse is considered the core verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme, the original personality of Godhead. And from Krishna comes who? The first expansion of Krishna. Balaram. Lord Balaram comes. And this is in Vrindavan. This is in Goloka Vrindavan. There's Krishna and Balaram, and they sport in Goloka Vrindavan, beautiful pastimes of love and sweetness. And from Goloka Vrindavan Dham comes Mathura Dham. Krishna expands into Mathura Dham in the form of Vasudeva. Krishna is Vasudeva in Mathura because Krishna is the son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the son of Vasudeva. That's why in the Radhamadava, we sing Radhamadava, it's Yamuna, but we sing Yamuna Tirthavanachari in that song because it's Krishna who is coming from, who is walking on the banks of the Yamuna. So it's Yamuna in that song. That's what Druvida told me. So Druvida is the authority. But so Vasudeva comes from Vasudeva, and Krishna goes to be with Vasudeva in Mathura. And from Mathura expands Dwarkadam. And in Dwarkadam, Krishna has, as Vasudeva, Krishna has his brother there, who is Balaram, as Sankarshan. And Krishna's son is Pradyumna. And Krishna's grandson is Aniruddha. And this is considered the original Chaturvyuha, the original 4 expansions. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. And from that Chaturvyuha comes another Chaturvyuha into the spiritual sky, into the Vaikuntha planets, which are the 4-armed forms of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And then from Sankarshan comes the material creation. Everything is created kind of from Sankarshan, coming from Vasudeva. That's how the Chaturvyuha works. We don't have to look at that word for word. That's a word. Chaturvyuha is meaning the 4 expansions of the personality of Godhead. And that's nicely explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you have to read maybe a few times, kind of get the hang of the whole thing. That's kind of a basic understanding. So in this verse, we're hearing that Aniruddha, or Krishna, ultimately, is the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. So there is no potentiality of rising our consciousness, whether that be to a higher planetary system, to the spiritual world, or even in this lifetime that we live in now. There's no potentiality of raising our consciousness to a higher state of being without following the process that Krishna gives us. Yayatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So everybody's following Krishna's path. So how far are we progressing on Krishna's path? That's the ultimate question. Where are we progressing? Where do we want to go? Do we actually want to raise our consciousness? So yayatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. How do we surrender to Krishna? What's the process of surrender? Humility, yeah, that's the first thing in the process of knowledge. We have to be humble, absolutely, because the humility allows us to get instruction. We can't take instruction unless we become humble. Interestingly enough, humility is not what we think it is most of the time. I think humility is very much misunderstood. And being with Keshava Swami Maharaj, Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj, really, he clarified that like a lightning bolt for me. It was so beautiful that. So I asked him, I said, sometimes devotees may have to, how's Arjuna, in a sense being humble when he's, chopping down, Bhishma Dev, sticking him with thousands of arrows. How's this, humility before seniors? And, Keshava Swami said, the humility of a Brahmin, the humility of a Kshatriya, and the humility of a Vaishya is different. But every Vaishnava is humble. All Vaishnavas have become humble. But that humility manifests in a different way based on what position you're acting. And if you're acting in the position of a disciple, that humility comes in the presence of the spiritual master. You must be humble and accept the instructions of the Guru. As a Kshatriya, that humility may mean to fight. The humility of doing your service, of fighting, protecting others, of standing up to oppression. That's also a form of humility. Because no Vaishnava wants to do that. Arjuna was very soft-hearted. Did he want to fight? He didn't want to fight. His arrogance, actually his false conception or false ego, was thinking, I don't want to fight. I'm too, of course, Arjuna's, no offense to Arjuna here. He's pure devotee. This is all Krishna's Leela. But I'm too, good. I'm too learned, right, ultimately, to fight in this battle. Not even, what is that nice verse? I don't know it. He says, let me look. See here. Arjuna says, it would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. So Krishna says, though speaking learned words, you're mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. So Arjuna had all these learning words, but he wasn't being humbled. The real humility was in accepting that sword, that bow and arrow, and fighting. So it takes humility to stand up to oppression. It takes humility to do many things in Krishna consciousness successfully, but humility is going to manifest differently. It takes humility to be a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a Sudra. It takes humility to be all those things, a Brahmana, but that humility manifests differently. So Keshava Swami explained that very nicely, that someone who is a Vaishnava, he's always thinking himself just servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. That's his position. But he'll take up whatever service is necessary. So you mentioned humility. That was kind of leading to what I was saying, is that the process of surrendering in Krishna consciousness is first surrendering to Krishna's devotees, surrendering to the spiritual master, allowing ourselves to be instructed, which in all cases takes humility. Which Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Sharanagati explains the 6 symptoms of surrender. What are they? You guys were talking about it. Nice class, right? You heard it in LA. Yeah. Oh, one always thinks of Krishna as his ultimate protector and maintainer. Yeah. That's a powerful one. One always has faith in Krishna's mercy. Right? One accepts what is favorable for Krishna consciousness. He rejects what is unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. He always feels himself meek and humble, and he doesn't keep any separate interest from that of the Lord. So if you meditate on that, then we can develop real humility, real surrender, right? One always feels himself meek and humble. That means he doesn't think of himself so much. This is actually our big problem. More and more, I realize this. We learn all this philosophy simply to simplify everything. That suffering simply means thinking of yourself. That's just the bottom line of suffering. So I'm thinking about myself, my own interest, which is the opposite of surrender, because surrender means I'm thinking of Krishna's interests. Guru and Krishna's interests. This is my interest. What is the Guru's mission? What is his Guru's mission? What is Krishna's mission? And so once we get our own, when we want to put ourselves, what am I going to get out of this? What Arjuna was doing. Lamentation appears, sadness appears, darkness appears, all these things appear in our hearts, and all these problems happen. But when you begin to think of Krishna, and that manifests as thinking of others. Like I was having a discussion with my mom last night, because she's, she sometimes has some kind of like struggles with my brother. I said, while we talk about this, he gets upset. I said, why not just invest in his life? How are you doing today? How's your garden? How's your music playing going? How's your business going? And actually be seriously concerned about that. When you find yourself caring about other people's lives, no matter what you're going through, you find yourself you forgetting about all the other stuff that might have happened in your life. You become happy. You become joyful. Because I'm no longer lament. There's so many things we can find to lament over. It's unlimited. I lost my grandma. I lost my dad. I lost my Aunt Mary. I lost my Uncle Art. I can go on and on and on. How many people have died in my family? I can keep going, I lost my girlfriend. We can go like that. In that way, we're not thinking about Krishna. So go out and try to do service. Like when I see, of course I don't really associate with people I, used to hang out with before my devotional service. But occasionally, if I'm in town, maybe I'll, because I want to maintain a loving connection with everybody. And so, like some friend that I had for many years, many, many years, when I see them, I don't, I automatically ask them, how's your music? What's your latest project? Because as a musician, artist, and I have them tell me about it. And, in that way, you become happy. When you're not thinking of the self, you're always happy. When you're thinking of the self, always negative, because that, especially if we have a misconception of the self, meaning I think I'm this body. If I think I'm this body and I'm this mind and I'm this ego and I'm the things that are happening to me, then, oh man, I have a ton of things to lament over. It's always poor me if you're this body. This body is not a good place. We have so much karma. Every person is suffering on the bodily platform. It's not like one person is suffering more than another. Apparently, someone is suffering more than another at one time, place, or circumstance. Yet when we really analyze people, some of the happiest people in the world are the most materially despondent. And some of the most miserable people in the world are the most materially prosperous. All the fame, all the glorification, everything I want is there, yet I can always find a reason to be unhappy. Yet, I know devotees who have, gone through lots of struggles, big time struggles, not just in their, like their body, their health, that's all there, but then their whole devotional service is struggle. Yet they're really happy because they're beyond the bodily conception of life. And the bodily conception of life is three things. I mentioned this last week, but I'm going to mention it again because it's really important to understand that we identify with the body in three ways. We identify with the body first off by thinking we're the doer. I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that and I'm not doing this. So I was thinking, actually, I was kind of having I got kind of hit with a flash of emotions yesterday or day before yesterday. And I was thinking, I was really meditating on this verse because, in circumstances that are bewildering, you have to act in certain ways. And it's bewildering. There's a lot of bewildering things out there. Krishna says, for the self, he who thinks himself the slain and he who thinks himself the slayer are both not in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. So in the case of Arjuna, here he is. It's very confusing, very bewildering. He's having to act according to what he thinks is right. What his guru tells him is right. What Krishna says is right. What the Shastras are saying. He's acting accordingly. Yet apparently there's so much smoke, there's so much sin around the activity. So Krishna says, for the self slays not nor is slain. He who thinks himself the slayer and he who thinks himself the slain aren't in knowledge. So then we can think, oh, I'm not the doer. We renounce the activity. We renounce the karma. We're giving the activity to Krishna. We're acting on the best knowledge we have to do devotional service. But then it's easy. Now we think ourselves the slain. Now, of course, we might not think ourselves dead, but, oh, I'm so beat up by the material world. I'm slain. Thinking yourself the slain. This is a type of illusion also. For the self slays not, nor is slain. For the self, there's neither birth nor death. He has not come into being, does not come into being, will not come into being. He's eternal, everlasting, and primeval. He's not slain when the body is slain. Nothing can hurt you. If you really come to the platform of you're indestructible. You're always happy. Brahma Bhuta, Prasanatma, you're prasan. You're always joyful. Your Atma is always happy. You can't be unhappy because you are Brahma Bhuta. You're Brahman. Right? You can't be unhappy. That's why you see advanced devotees. They can manifest anger. They can manifest sadness different times. Like emotions will happen, feelings will happen, but they can immediately step back into prasanatma, joyfulness. They don't lament. They don't go into illusion. Their mind doesn't control them. They control their mind. They're not the mind. So we're not the doer. We're also not the quality of the mind. This is another thing. Some people think, I'm a lusty person. I'm an angry person. I'm a sad person. I'm a sick person. These qualities of the mind. I'm a lazy person. These are all mental qualities. And we begin to identify with those qualities of the mind. We're not the qualities of the mind. I'm an enthusiastic person. I'm a fired up devotee. This is also false ego, actually. It's illusion. Because then we're fired up, and then something happens and now we're not fired up anymore. I'm not fired up. Because I was identifying with my mind. I haven't come to the point of equanimity. And then we identify with the things that have happened to us. This happened to me. That happened to me. This happened to me. Well, what a travesty. So many things have happened to so many of us. I was eaten by a tiger in my past life. Got guillotined. I got, burned up in the Salem witch trials, There's so many things that have happened to us. We've been bugs. Look at a bug, I'm not going to say the name. Look at the life of a bug. I was going to say a bug's life, but I didn't want to go there. Look at the life of a bug. You see they're like, they're just like getting crushed, and you find there's a cockroach the other day, and I was thinking he's like wandering his whole life around, and he finds himself in my bathroom between the shower curtains, and he's trying to understand what's going on. It's just it's terrible. And then you're washing your hands, or you see there's a little bug in the sink, and you see him he gets hit with a drop of water, and he washes away. It's a travesty. But life is, if we identify with what's happened to us, it's a travesty. So we got to let that go. We got to accept who we are. We have to become fearless by surrendering to Krishna, which means I am yours, Krishna. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to serve your devotees. I'm going to serve my spiritual master despite whatever happens. So always feeling oneself meek and humble means realizing that the task given to us is far greater than we deserve. Here in this room, we are saving the world. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. We're the ones who are trying to go out there and save others. We're the, like Macho Man Randy Savage, he says, we're the cream of the crop. Really, but don't be puffed up, but we're experiencing the most mercy, hands down. We're here in the Krishna consciousness movement. Wow. You've been invited to Krishna's house to do some service in the Krishna consciousness movement. We have no qualification whatsoever. We should just be humble. What we've done, what we've thought of doing, we have no qualification. We can't be puffed up. But so the devotee thinks, Krishna, I make mistakes all the time. I've made so many mistakes. I don't deserve you. I don't deserve you at all. But I'm yours. If you want to punish me, punish me. Who am I to argue with you? I deserve much worse. I deserve much, much worse. Who am I to argue with you, Krishna? What is your decision? This is what's happening to me. This is your decision. Who am I to argue? If you want to leave my mind, leave my heart, and let me forget you. I don't want that. Please don't do that. But if that is your desire, who am I to argue with you? If you want to embrace me, I'm here. I'm here. But I am yours. Therefore, that's humility. And in that position, you purchase Krishna. Krishna becomes yours. You become Krishna's. So one feels himself always meek and humble. One doesn't keep a separate interest outside the Lord. That's another symptom of surrender. What is that? That means I gotta stop thinking of myself. Get out of my own head. What is Krishna's mission here? What am I supposed to do? Do what I can. We have to tolerate our own karma. Matra sparshas takunteya sitoshna sukadukada. Agama payano nityas tamstatik shavabharata. And this is the first teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. You're not this body. You got to tolerate whatever happens to you. You got to become the same in happiness and distress. So we can't find this, like sometimes devotees, myself included, we kind of come to this place where, it becomes okay to whine and complain. Where is this excusable in the Bhagavad Gita? Matra sparshas takunteya sitoshna sukadukada. We should be tolerant. We should become the same in both. Because we're not this body. So we don't keep a separate interest outside Krishna's interest. We're into serving Krishna. And when you actually have that, envy goes away. Because if I'm for Krishna and you're for Krishna and you're doing something for Krishna, then I should be happy because you're making Krishna happy. And because I just want Krishna to be happy. There's no envy. There's no room for envy in a surrendered person. It doesn't happen. We can't let go of that desire to be the best. That's the challenge. That desire to do my own thing, to be recognized. No separate interest outside of Krishna. Accepting what is favorable. That's a very simple one. What's favorable for Krishna consciousness? Oh, it can be difficult though. Not taking anything prasadam, going to bed early, chanting good japa, all these things. Rejecting what's unfavorable. Always feeling Krishna's protection, which is a symptom of surrender, but it's very difficult if you think about it. Because we don't really feel we deserve it. That's the big thing. We don't understand the meaning of causeless mercy yet. We don't think we deserve Krishna's protection. It's all that. We just don't think we deserve it. We always have this kind of complex of, I'm my body, and because I'm my body, I've done so many things, I don't deserve Krishna. And so that's your ego, actually. That's the lack of humility, because you think yourself too good, too bad for Krishna. The whole world is just a mess. The material world's entangling. Everything just, yeah. So become a giver. Like Savasky's one of his Vasky Prabhu's big things he likes to say in class a lot. His classes are really good. He says, devotee means become a giver, not a taker. Give to every person you meet. Don't demand. Serve. You'll always be happy. Like Gauranga praying Prabhu. And then there's always expect Krishna's mercy. I mean, that's a big one. That's really powerful to meditate on. That there's nothing I can do. Like, I have faith in your mercy above all things, Lord, my dear Nitai. You're my everything. You're my only hope. I make that joke a lot. Like, your little Lord Nityananda gets a little like telegram. It's you. Help me, Lord Nityananda. You're my only hope. Help me, Lord Nityananda. You're my only hope. Like Star Wars. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. So Lord Nityananda's mercy is there. We have to accept it. Do you have faith? How many of you believe you're going to go back to Godhead? So, see some hesitation. But we can have confidence, actually. If we follow, if we accept, no matter what we do, if we just surrender and become repentful, Krishna always forgives us. He'll forgive you. Guru and Krishna are all forgiving. Always forgiving. Go and sin no more, Lord Nityananda. He told Jagai and Madai, go and sin no more. We just have to simply become a surrendered soul. Yeah, you have a question, Prabhu?
Thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, I just have a couple of things to say. One thing I was thinking, I know I have well, maybe I shouldn't say I have a big ego, because it's probably just an illusion. But I was going to say, not say that this will happen to everybody, but from my experience, I've realized that it can be easier said than done, because you don't know how you're going to get hit. And sometimes you might get hit in the most unexpected of ways, kind of like from a family member, how that family member can get you the hardest because they know you the most, And that's what I've experienced. It's very tough, but it's a good will get you another. Singing also something Jivana Prabhu, something you may have heard of you that he was telling me to be prepared what to say when somebody is asking me about my past, and I figured he was going to give me a really nice, really kind of sweet thing to say. And he told me a small Krishna Maharaj thing saying yes, that is all true, and I'm much worse. Like, oh, that's it. That
story he tells, that story has perpetuated me in my life so many times. That story is in my heart deeply. That's one of my favorite. You know how many times, unlimited amounts of times at this point, I can't even count them, how many times someone's just been at me, and I just think, I don't even have to say it, I just think like that, because I don't even got to say anything back, because if you actually begin to feel yourself and you think, man, I'm rotten anyway, so, it's almost mystical. Boom, they apologize within 10 minutes, within a day, I'll get a call. Bro, I'm so sorry. It happens every time.
That's how the story goes, right?
Yeah.
Is it an hour or something?
Yeah.
The person was just rating TKG, and then he said that, and they cried.
It happens he cried because he realized he made an offense. Because the Buddha teaches this. If someone comes at you and tries to give you a hot coal, and you don't accept that hot coal, whose hot coal is it? It's theirs. So if they're coming at you with all this, and you remain humble, and there's instances like, if it's actually malicious, if it's like out of instruction, it's different. It's not a hot coal in that case. But, when someone's trying to be malicious towards you or trying to bring up your past, out of maliciousness, I know that. As long as I don't think I'm better than you, and I really feel myself the most fallen, I'm indestructible. You can't destroy dust. Lord Shiva, he's entropy personified, ashes. You know, why is it Lord Shiva so special? Is because when everything turns to dust, what remains is that principle of everything turning to dust. Kala, death itself, destruction itself, entropy. I'm nothing. And so, you know, symbology is there that, you know, I'm dead to I'm nothing, you know, lower than the straw in the street. What can be lower than the straw in the street? So what can you do to me? It's like, you know, Chitsukananda, he's like the personification of that like verse, you know, and he's like, yeah, he's like, you call me, he said, you know, the SH where he's like, you call me that? So, I am that. I am. You know?
For the first part, I also forgot to mention, possibly get ready to expect the unexpected is what I was getting at, that like, to just maybe, you know, really meditate on that, Krishna, I'm yours no matter what, because it can even come from like what I've experienced. It's felt like hate from Krishna himself, which obviously is not true, but when it feels like that, it's like you really go through this process of like, am I still cool with you, Krishna? Because it's like, you know, in the last place you feel like you're expecting it. But then also, the other thing I wanted to say quickly was, I was thinking about, so like one's happiness is our happiness, one's distress is our distress.
Yeah.
Here. And
Pardukaduki.
I was thinking about how like, sometimes I think, I'm like, the third question is, isn't it important to know what level someone's at? Because you can't always just like blast someone home with Shastra, or like, you know, like if someone's, a loved one has passed away, you can't just be like, oh, they're not the body, like
No,
get over
absolutely.
it, you know?
Yeah.
You have to like somewhat be willing to like, you know, go into someone's, like placate to someone's, you know,
Yep.
level to be able to just relate to them as a human.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
there's a lot of aspects to that. I mean, first off, absolutely. You can't just beat a problem with Shastra. You have to be personal. But another thing is you can't be an enabler. You can't just tell them like, you know, there's both qualities, feminine and masculine. The mother is gonna always like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's the quality of the mother. But if we get too comfortable with that, then I'm validating my, you know, problems. And there's no room to growth because I want to stay comfortable. Whereas the masculine energy says, no, it's time to grow. Grow the hell up. That's what that's what the father says. So, you know, we can't become, I mean, this is our issue because, you know, especially men, but, you know, men especially have this issue that in this age, especially that we want to become in the comfort zone. We don't want to grow. And so, you know, it's this whole culture of, you know, cancel culture, don't hurt anybody's feelings, don't, you know, that's also wrong. There's balance. There has to be balance. There has to be a balance. You can't be impersonal with people. You have to be able to see. It takes an expert devotee to see what someone needs. It takes an expert devotee. It takes, you know, some serious qualification to see what someone needs and give it to them. And it's real love to do that. It's the realest love to be honest and help someone grow. But it's also real love to validate them and make them feel okay where they're at. Both have to be there. So I totally agree with you. It's something I've learned in time, much more, that time, place, circumstance, and how you say it, when you say it, how you say it can change. It could be sometimes, you know, like a thunderbolt, sometimes like a rose. And then said that the spiritual personalities, the Vaishnavas and the Guru, they're hard like a thunderbolt and they're soft like a rose. That's a symptom of great advancement. But yeah, we have to know how to balance it. And in terms of, you know, the first thing you said, I mean, it's kind of like learning to walk, you know. I mean, because I see devotees who are in their 70s, in their 80s, going through, you know, they're just getting hit down just the same way I'm getting hit down, you know. But the difference is that their faith is very strong in Krishna. They don't feel like, Krishna, why are you doing this to me? They feel like, God, Krishna, I deserve so much worse. So we're strengthening our surrender. We're strengthening our sense of surrender. So, I mean, in my experience with dealing with, that guy on the altar there, he is most unpredictable, Radhaprabhu Prabhu, he says like sometimes he doesn't want to look at Krishna in the face because he's like kind of scared, like, what are you up to, It's like I like to look at Radharani, but I don't look at Krishna. So I don't know, he's up to something, I never know what he's gonna do. So it's an unexpected, but we have to we get good at we get good at running that in our mind, the surrender program, like run the surrender program, and so where whatever happens to us becomes like water off a duck's back, because our strength, and this is becoming personal, it's something that you can read the Shastras, but it takes being around devotees, advanced devotees who are Vaishnava qualities, who love people. When you have those devotees around, when these devotees who really genuinely can inspire people, when you're around those types of devotees, you realize something else. Krishna is a person, and I love him. And when that relationship with Krishna becomes strong, when you have that strong relationship with Krishna, what else do I need? Who else do I need? If you can't take this with me, if it's like I have Krishna, and I'm not this body, and this knowledge is strong, you have this strong, vijnana, then it's easier. But it's always unexpected, and at no point does it stop being, does it stop happening in the material world? Material world, I mean, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avatina Arjuna. From the highest planet down to the lowest planet, all are places of suffering, where repeated birth and death take place. Mamupetya Takunteya Punar Janma Navidyate. But if you go to Krishna's abode, everything's fine.
And Krishna's the ultimate trickster, like he'll get you from the angle you're not expecting, like you're saying, Radha
Radha.
I was also just
you have to turn the switch on that up. It's blinking, so it probably didn't pick up anything. That's okay.
It is that.
I was just thinking with like talking to my parents, for instance, or a nice older couple I met at the Sunday feast, and I tried like Christian this, Christian that with my parents, like didn't get anywhere, or like this couple who were here, they appreciate this place and stuff, but just came for the prasad. They like go to some place where it's kind of like a Reiki, like spirituality or something. And I mean, maybe I could get better at like subtly talking about Krishna a little bit, but what I've realized is, from where I'm at, I think the best thing is just to try to be like as nice and personal, and like you're talking about caring about the other person, and like with my parents or with those people.
That's it.
And then hopefully that like attracts them to come more.
That's it. That's it. I totally agree. If that's all that you can do, that's all you can do. Lavanga Prabhu has something to say, and the fact that she's still here means she really wants to say it.
I need to hear it, get it back in such a way, because there's sort of coming to yesterday. I went to the doctor on a whole new thing.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a routine thing, but they thought I had another problem. So they ended up shoving me in this metal tube for an MRI. And if you ever had one of those done, it's very small. And it's like a coffin, basically. And I remember when I first went in, I was like, I can't breathe. And then like I started thinking of Krishna, because I had never been put in a space that small before. And I just started thinking of Krishna, and like Krishna like in Vrindavan and devotees and things like that. And I felt my body gradually start to like relax.
Yeah.
And then I realized there's suffering, like there's so much suffering. Like yesterday, there were so many accidents. There were so many trauma people coming in, and like they were all like yelling and complaining, and I was like, okay, well, I have time for chanting extra japa now. Hare Krishna, if this is what you want. And I was thinking of you. How like the devotee thinks, this is what Krishna wants. I have to surrender to it. So I was like, okay, if this is what Krishna wants, I have to surrender to it, and I just have to do it. So what can I do? Okay, I can chant 32 rounds now, maybe 48 while I'm here. And the mind became peaceful, even though it's physically exhausted. The mind became peaceful. And then you realize, okay, this is really what I'm meant to be. It's Krishna conscious. Because when you get into that consciousness over there, it's like you're suffering so much. But when you're thinking of Krishna, no matter what's going on, you're like, okay, I can take it. I can take it. But Krishna will test you sometimes. And, he'll like push you to the cliff. And then he'll push you over. And then he'll catch you. But sometimes when you're being pushed over, you're like, wait, Krishna, what are you doing? What are you doing? But yeah, we have to have that trust. We have to have that faith always, because sometimes we're going to be put in situations where that's all we have. There's no material enjoyment whatsoever.
My heart was, I was in that ambulance with the heart thing, and like, I was thinking like, oh man, I didn't feel any anxiety, because I was thinking like, I actually had kind of a sliver of excitement. Like, am I going to die and go back to Godhead? There was a slight sliver of excitement. I'm not lying. It was there like. It was a slight sliver of excitement. And it was just peace. Krishna gives us so much peace in our heart when we just surrender. That's why we got to learn how to surrender, though. And not so easy. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. I didn't even get to talk about semen.